I got to know him, and also in interviewing him, it came about that he had all these diaries, and I was able to get a hold of these diaries. He gave them to me willingly. I mean, really, he was just a disarmed person.
Yes.
10 years before that, he would have probably spit in my face and or knocked me out. He was a terrific boxer.
Well, that's the thing. You mentioned, look, there's a book or two or three in Douglas Bozada's life alone trying to cover that, and you so deftly in the book Target Patton sort of condensed and refined the most important aspects of it. But Douglas Bozada was, you said it. I have never in my 48 years met anybody like that. This guy was a physical marvel. This is a guy who fought, was a prize fighter in his youth, and actually went up and fought in sort of exhibition matches, heavyweight champions of the day. And he was a multilingual guy, super energetic, and had that thing that the special forces of today look for, that gene. I actually think they have isolated it genetically, which is he had no fear.
Yes.
But as fascinating as he is, it is these journals that he kept, trying to work through his crisis of conscience over the years, and trying to understand what he did and put it in context. It is that written record, as jumbled as it was, that really was the pay dirt and the thing, and it was the missing link, wasn't it, Bob?
Absolutely.
When you add it to all of the other books and the tremendous primary research done by other authors, you had that in hand, and now you were given essentially the catalyst to bring it all together in those spiral notebooks.
Well, that was really the one of the big pieces of it, and those notebooks I believe they are genuine. And there's another piece which we'll get to later, which really put it together, which is an entirely different secret agent.
Yes.
Who corroborated from another side without knowing Bozada. That's what really put it together. Totally, but
and he wrote a book too, but we'll get to that in sequence. Sure.
Bozada, his father was a very well-known. First, he was a great athlete in Southern California, great athlete, and there's so many coincidences. He knew Patton. His father did. His father used to go to his football games.
The dad, yes, the father.
Patton used to go to his father's football games,
right.
And his father became a great minister on the East Coast, and was a very righteous man. And you see, this is part of why Bozada would begin to have all these pangs about the life he led. I know that when he came back from in the book, you will read what he did in World War II, and it is absolutely amazing. He's dropped behind enemy lines he's terribly wounded when he jumps from the parachute. It cuts through his thigh all the way to the bone, but he just sucks it up. And for 3 months, he works with the Maquis, organizing them and attacking.
A good point to come back on, Bob. We're up against a hard break. That'll give you a chance to get a sip of water. My guest is just a privilege, Robert K. Wilcox, with us for 2 hours today. And we're going to iron this thing out. You're going to understand as best anybody can, as well as anybody can after those 2 hours, what almost certainly happened to our good friend George S. Patton Jr.
Dale Williams on K-Talk. AM 630 KTKK.
AM 630 K-Talk.
1221 in Salt Lake City. It's Dale Williams with you on the Free West Radio program. Our guest is Robert K. Wilcox, the author of many very successful and widely published books, mostly about military history, military culture, and what have you. But most importantly today, the author of the spectacular Target Patton. And, of course, that has a publishing date of 2008, but its fame and notoriety has not crested yet. General Patton, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can stay with us long enough to understand what we're trying to do today, what I'm trying to do anyway. General Patton had a tale to tell, and he was unique in that he had that tale, he had that understanding that we had been sold a bill of goods by the end of the war. The difference with him was he had the voice, he had the public stature to tell that story in a way that would compete with the propaganda organs telling us the opposite story about the outcome of World War II. But that's for later in the tale we're telling. Right now, we've got Bob Wilcox. We've just mentioned that this man, Douglas Bazada, was the son of a minister. That minister was a world-class athlete, known to George Patton, admired by George Patton, and then the son, Douglas Bazada, who would become an OSS officer in World War II, would cross paths with Patton again. It's very strange synchronicities, but let's pick up the story there, Bob Wilcox. This guy was doing things in World War II, being dropped behind enemy lines, that they wouldn't even make a movie script out of because nobody would believe it.
That's true. He was just incredible, and ironically, again, he was dropped behind the lines up in northern France to really pave the way, or help pave the way for Patton's fantastic blaze across northern France. And his job was to organize the Maquis, who were loosely organized. These were just really citizen soldiers. And he was a weapons expert. He was a fighting expert. He knew and he was daring. And he organized raids. Patton's army is sweeping. This is after D-Day. Patton's army is sweeping across northern France, just bludgeoning the Germans right out of there. And along his flanks, these Jedburghs, which is what Bazada was, various ones of them were fighting with the Maquis, organizing them and harassing the Germans and keeping their armies from getting to hit Patton. Of course, Patton did it all, but these were small areas. But for one man to go down in there and do this with two other guys, it was just incredible. So that's the kind of guy that Bazada was. So he was a fantastic, and he won. I think he's probably one of the most decorated, if not the most, Jedburgh there was. So he had this time there, and then when he came back, and let me just jump ahead a little bit and say that when Bazada began to tell me all this, you've got to understand, I'm sitting there, my mouth is open, but I'm not showing him that, because every little detail he's telling me as we get closer to what happened with Patton, I'm just putting it down as fast as I can. And one of the first things I did after leaving, and I spent about a week with Bazada. One of the first things I did was go right to the National Archives. And, is this guy telling me the truth? Mm-hmm. Is he lying? And let me tell you, I was lucky that I was able, it was just several years earlier that the OSS files were opened. Every single thing he told me was true, right down to the T. I mean, there was not anything that I could question.
All the relationships, the valor decorations, the times and dates of operations, the letters between his superiors. I mean, you did the shoe leather, Bob, and the guy was everything he said he was.
He was everything he said he was, and I had already, before I met him, had heard that from his people. He doesn't lie. He obfuscates. He will obfuscate, mm-hmm. which all of these guys will do, because their whole training, their whole mindset is don't ever say a word. But remember, I got him after he was sick. So here I am at the National Archives, and everything he tells me is true. So I began to take him very seriously. And then when he gave me, towards the end of that time, he said to me, well, I have all these diaries, and his wife brought them up from the basement, and here they were. Later on, I was able to go through them. It took me, half a year to go through them, and I really went through them with a fine-tooth comb. They were written in a kind of a code. You could tell he didn't want to say what he's saying. It was almost like he was fighting himself. But there are 35 to 40 of them. I forget the exact number right now. Some of them 300, 400 pages, written in strange ways. And so I went through all of this, and I found stuff that I just could not deny.
Okay, well, Bob, we have another break, and I apologize for the frequency of the breaks. We are, of course, operating on a commercial station that is in itself an anachronism. Because we can say what we want on this station. It's free, open exchange here, no editorial control, but we do have to pay the bills, so we'll do a little commercial activity and come back and give Bob Wilcox a longer segment next time to develop this amazing guy of Mr. Bazada, and how his life